through just a few of these applications. There's in total a few dozen of these applications that have been developed for various customers. Some of them are broad applications that multiple customers use. Some of these applications are developed for only certain customers for their specific requirements. So I'll go through and I'll give you an idea of what this is and whether this could help in your environment. So today we're going to be taking a look at automating some of the common PDM tasks within Windchill and enhancing the user experience, especially for those people who are outside of engineering. So typically when we talk to companies, we talk to the engineering departments, and they wish that more people would go into Windchill. But because those occasional users are not using Windchill all the time, just like any other computer system, they don't remember how to do certain things. So the major focus of these apps is to enable some of the other users outside of engineering to get information that they need in a very simplified way. So today we're going to be talking about what are these apps, what's the methodology behind them, how do we deliver these to customers, how do we track the software and support. We're going to take a look at 3 apps. We're going to look at examples of an app called the Flexible Light Search, Content Export, and PDF tools. And then we're going to end off with questions and answers. So the whole purpose of these apps is every software has gaps. Every software is designed a certain way. Certain customers want to use it a different way. So it's the same with Windchill. PTC targets the typical manufacturing organization for data management, for accessing drawings, for accessing parts, for accessing documents in the system. We're going to keep it confined to the engineering work group, the PDM aspect of it. The next session is going to talk about some of the PLM aspects that deal with change, BOM management, connections to other systems like ERP systems and so on. But anything in the software that needs to happen quicker, less mouse picks and clicks, or you need a toolbar that is a company-specific toolbar, or some way of getting to the information that's faster than you can do it today within the software. This is the main purpose of these apps. These apps are sitting on top of Windchill. They don't duplicate functionality of Windchill. We're not competing with or designing a PDM system. So Windchill's great at handling the PDM aspects of managing files, versions, revisions, lifecycle states, access roles, and permissions. These apps will just enhance what Windchill is capable of doing. And one example is the whole aspect of PDFs, managing PDFs, dealing with files that are either derived content, like a PDF out of an engineering drawing, or like a step file or IGES or DXF off the original content. Now, a lot of times customers will say, well, we really don't want any customizations in their system because these are very difficult in terms of future upgrades to maintain. Who maintains these? If a person who did the customization is no longer available, do I have to redo this customization from scratch, and so on? So these apps are not, you can customize them even further than what they have been, but they are really delivered as a software install into the system. So there's no files that are modified. There's no core files in Windchill that are modified. So these are just installed into their own location and managed by a installation server, which is managed to understand what version of this app different customers are using. These apps are also available for various releases of Windchill. So some customers are still using Windchill 9.1. Most of these apps will be applicable for multiple Windchill releases, so you don't have to upgrade to your latest Windchill version to take advantage of these apps. These apps also are available under maintenance, just like software maintenance for your PTC products. So if you do decide to release or upgrade to, for example, Windchill 11 later this year, support for upgrading some of these apps, if they've been designed for your specific environment, could also be included in that maintenance agreement. These apps also are available for various modules within Windchill. So if you're using Project Link, if you're using NPM Link, some of the quality modules, change management is really in PDM Link, but some of these apps touch different modules within Windchill, and they enhance some of those modules as well. Some of these apps also integrate with various CAD software. So as a gateway between the CAD software and Windchill, one example could be I'm running some electrical software, I'm running some manufacturing software that I want my users to have an easy way of uploading their files into Windchill, but there's no workgroup manager that exists for those files. So one of these apps could be that simple workgroup manager that users can use to upload and download and maintain their versions of those other files from that other software. That's one example. Another example is integration to other systems, especially ERP systems or other document repositories like SharePoint or other systems out there. These apps also will communicate or pull and push data from other systems. So an example could be a reporting functionality, reporting or a dashboard functionality that consolidates data from other systems as well as Windchill and puts it together in one place. So I don't have to go in and log into various systems just to get data that I need, or make a big massive Excel file that always takes me time to consolidate and report out on the data. So these apps are not a software solution in themselves. They're just enhancing functionality in Windchill. These apps are developed by a partner of TriStar. This partner is Wincom, headquartered in Spain. TriStar is the exclusive distributor of these apps in North America for Wincom. They are mainly software developers. They consist of a lot of former PTC employees that are very familiar with Windchill, and they have a very fast turnaround time in these apps. Now, we're going to take a look at some of the developed out-of-the-box apps today, but if there's a functionality in the software that you require for your specific business, we also can work with Wincom to develop customized applications. So if there's an app, for example, like I mentioned, that kind of duplicates some of the workgroup manager functionalities for other software, that app can be developed. And the development time is generally not in the terms of months, but sometimes in terms of days or weeks, most of the time days. So it's a very affordable mechanism to add functionality on top of Windchill instead of looking for other software that typically will not communicate with Windchill. So if you want everything in one place and you want an app to make things easier to use, this is an example of these type of apps. Now, if we take a look at the point in the product development cycle of where these apps could fit in, when we take a look at, for example, the life of a part or a document within product development, it starts off on the left with some template and then some numbering, and then the work gets performed, whether it's a CAD part, whether it's a document within Windchill, and then it gets checked in, released after a certain point, and then changes happen on it, ECNs, through various check-ins, checkouts, and then again a re-release. Now these releases could be obviously pre-releases, full manufacturing releases, production releases to different plants, and so on. But here's an example of some of the apps, some of the typical apps that our customers are using to enhance the different stages of interacting with this document. One example app could be an auto numbering app. Windchill has nice auto numbering functionality, but there's also ways to improve that, make it a lot more visual, and give a really simplified user interface for users. There's also apps that enhance some of the promotion requests, some of the change notices. There's also apps that will only activate upon a certain trigger in the system. So if it's a workflow like a promotion request or a change request, and a certain stage of that workflow needs to generate a PDF, for example, needs to generate some additional content files, then some of these apps could also be triggered from that specific step in the workflow. So as an example, upon check-in, there could be an app that will generate some PDFs, but will also number these PDFs intelligently, put in some part number, maybe some revision into the file name, and then either store it in Windchill or store it somewhere outside of Windchill on a network folder. So then people who don't go into Windchill or other programs can grab those. Obviously, we want to keep everything in Windchill as much as possible because it's in a controlled environment. But we realize that not everyone is going to be keeping everything in Windchill. There's other systems that they use. Now, also upon release, so if I change that state of released, maybe this is when I actually create those PDFs. I don't create them when the product is still in work or under design. And because these apps will use the Windchill permissions or the access rules, then only certain people will be able to see those apps. Now, some of these applications like the flexible light search and other ones we'll see next time, they also layer access controls on top of what Windchill has. So as an example, people in Windchill can have access to released and not released objects, but I can also limit this app to only allow them to see released. So I don't have to go in and always change their Windchill permissions, because they'll never go into Windchill anyways. But for security purposes, it will use and respect what Windchill has. It does not create its own or override its own access permissions from Windchill. We don't want two systems competing with each other. There's also other apps that will do different things as this document goes through its life cycle. So let's get into one of these first. This one is the flexible light search. So the flexible light search app is really a way for users to search Windchill, search for drawings, search for parts, search for assemblies, for documents within Windchill without actually going into Windchill. So this is kind of like a Google search for Windchill. It's an app that is sitting and communicating with Windchill. Users will need logins into Windchill because all we're doing here is exposing Windchill information, and we're not trying to go backdoor. So each user will have to have a login into Windchill, whether it's a heavy, light, or view and print license. But that license is required. Now, this page can be configured for kind of like a company portal view. So I could have this page, that search page that comes up and what search criteria is available to be different for different departments. So I might set up this for my engineering department to just quickly pull up files without going into Windchill. But also I can set this up for other departments, quality, sales, purchasing, field service, manufacturing, that will allow them to have their own search, and the results that come up will only be applicable to them. So let's look at an example of some of these apps here. So let me here go in. I'll start a web browser, and I'll pull up the flexible light search page. I just have it as a hyperlink in my favorites here. So I'll just log in using my username and password. This is my Windchill login. And what this does is this takes me into my light search page. So up on top here, I have various searches that we've defined. These could be for different departments, for different types of things that I'm searching for. So I have this one set up to search only for CAD documents, not any other things in the system. So I have a simplified search that I can just enter part numbers. I can enter names, descriptions of parts that I'm looking for. What I'll do is I'll just enter the word central and hit search. What this will do is it will bring up, now I also have some Windchill parts defined for here. Ignore those for now. I can't change it in my demo system. But for the top part here, I have mostly CAD files that come up. And you could limit this to only show, for example, drawings, not parts or assemblies. So certain people in the company will not be able to see those. But for me, I have the ability to see both drawings and parts and assemblies out of my CAD system. And in this case, these are mostly coming out of Creo. They could be from other CAD systems as well. Whatever CAD system you have integrated into Windchill. And I have some columns defined that this is just a Windchill table, so it's very easy to define this. However you see these in Windchill, you can add additional columns for descriptions, materials, whatever exists on these files, you can also present it here. But the nice thing I have here also is, notice here I'm displaying all the states, right? So whether it's in design, whether it's released or not, this is my own view. I have access to see these. But the nice thing here is that those two drawings that have been released, they also have a quick link for me to download the PDF file. So if I'm a user just wanting to get PDFs, I can just click on this PDF just from that page and just download it or open it with my PDF viewer. So that's just a really fast way of getting information. And now these are in Windchill. I have no idea that I'm actually going into Windchill to get this information. So it's a really simplified way of people to have access to these. Now, there's another file that I've enabled for the system to create, and that's a DXF file. So sometimes companies will want to create these secondary formats, DWG, DXF, for their shop floor or for their suppliers, or even for purchasing to send out for quoting. I can also download those, so I can click on that file and I can download either that DXF, or if I have an appropriate program on my system that will open those type of files, then I can use this. So if I have like a Mastercam, some electrical software that can open up and view these files that are created out of Windchill as these secondary content files, then that way, just a quick way for me to do that. There's also obviously, if I have the ability to provide some feedback or markups on these, to open up that drawing inside of my Creo view. So I have different versions of Creo view running, so it's asking me a whole bunch of questions. But typically, I'll just launch Creo view, and I'll try that one more time after I answer those questions. So this will open up that drawing. And in this case, this is that plot drawing. It's not the PDF. So I can go in and mark this up, as that regular plot, and then save these, if I have permission to do these, right? Save these annotations back into the system and provide feedback. So I can have this type of interface on maybe the manufacturing or assembly floor, and or even for service people, have this available and they can provide feedback really quickly. These apps also, a lot of them work on mobile devices. So we have companies who are using tablets or usually tablets to look at drawings, to look at PDFs. Then this same interface can be opened up on that tablet. And if you allow them to search inside of your Windchill system, they can easily also just quickly download PDFs and or other additional files, typically PDFs, and look at them. I have another bucket here. So this is my second one, but this one is only limited for searching released objects. When I do a search on that central mechanism, I only see files that have been released. I don't see any other states. So I can limit what users are able to search for. I can also do an advanced search where I can enter not only just a keyword, but I can also search on specific attributes on those files. So if I'm searching for part of descriptions, or if I'm searching for some material properties or whatever other attributes you've defined, you can do this. And notice here the state has been locked to released. I cannot override that in this type of search. And of course, through this search, I can always get back into Windchill. So I can click on the hyperlink for, let's say, one of these drawings, and this will take me back into Windchill to that specific version that I was showing, which is usually the latest. This one is the release drawing that I'm looking at. So that is that flexible light search app. And obviously this app, what you've seen is just the out-of-the-box functionality. It could be enhanced to do other things. It could limit searches to specific products, not the whole system. It could limit, or you can also have ECN information listed alongside of that, anything that you want to extract out of Windchill. The next app I want to just quickly cover, and this is a really fast one, and this is something called content export. So typically companies will want to export out a bunch of drawings or a bunch of PDFs for an assembly or for a bunch of files that may not be related. So what this app does is it provides you a quick way of pulling up a wizard that will show you that assembly. It will show you what files are available, like PDFs or step files or IGES files, and give you the ability to check what you want to export out of the system. You can then export this out to like a zip package. You can then also export this out to like a bunch of PDFs or a single PDF that contains all the drawings in that assembly. You can also create table of content and cover page templates. If you're exporting these out to a customer or providing these out to others outside of the company, then you can also have additional files be attached that contain your information, the date it was exported, the versions of all the files, and so on. This could also happen, so that's on demand. This could also happen as part of a workflow. So you can submit a publish job into Windchill, and this will then make that zip file or delivered by email to somebody or have it available somewhere in Windchill or outside of Windchill. So that one is content export, when I just want to quickly get some content out of the system. Now, this also can work on the source file. So it can also work on the actual assembly, CAD assemblies, actual CAD models that you can take out of the system if you need to. So if you're not worried about IP, you want to send it to a trusted, partner or a contract manufacturer, then you can also send the source files this way as well, just gathering everything that you need. The next app is called the PDF tools, and this one really is the ability to, within Windchill, just to get quickly that PDF file. Now, this one is a required component to that little PDF icon that you saw in Flexible Light Search. And this one is just using the additional publishing mechanism in Windchill, but also has some intelligence, like a listener defined, to also rename these PDFs. Because Windchill will just allow you to put a suffix or a prefix on these files. But with this PDF tools, we can also add the part number, the name, and or the revision into the actual PDF file name. So that when you download the PDF, you know exactly what revision it is, and so on. So these kind of work together, and also within Windchill. So if I go back into Windchill, I'll go into a data table, any table within Windchill, and if I just scroll down here and look at some of the CAD files I have in my folder, one of the things you'll see here beside some of these files is that little PDF icon. So that's just that PDF Tools app kind of sitting in Windchill and just giving me the ability to access, like for example, some of these drawings here, just really quickly to download that PDF representation. Otherwise, I'd probably need 5 or 6 clicks to get to that PDF normally. So that's just a mechanism that is within Windchill, as well as within some of these apps like the Flexible Light Search, where I have this quick PDF access. Okay, that is going to be the end of the content for this webinar. I want to leave some time for any questions that you had. So I know we're kind of going past 11:30, but I'll take a couple of minutes to see if anyone has questions. If you do have any questions, feel free to type it in the questions toolbar. And if I don't get a chance to answer your question, or if you think of some questions, feel free to contact your TriStar representatives. I'm sure a lot of people are asking about how much do these cost? Is it affordable? It's very affordable. The licensing mechanism for these is mainly server-based, so it doesn't matter how many users you have. It's just one server, and it's pretty affordable. Okay, I see some questions coming in around part numbering. Can you have product-specific part numbering? Can it be applied manually when creating parts? So yes, you can have part numbering that is specific to a product. You can also have intelligent part numbering in the wizard. So you can have checkboxes that will auto number the part based on the check options that you select. But also, if you have set it up so it overrides the part number for certain parts that you don't want auto numbering, you also have the ability to override the part number and put your own. Another question, how do these apps compare to what PTC has announced in Windchill 11? So yes, PTC has announced something similar. Their apps for accessing Windchill. So right now we don't have a lot of information on how much, what the cost of those apps is going to be. I know that the infrastructure required is going to be a lot more software components. It's using the ThingWorx platform. There's no software components for these apps. They are just using your Windchill system that you currently have in place. From what I've seen also so far, those PTC apps are subscription only. So they don't actually reside on your systems. They're accessed from a cloud server. Some companies prefer to have them on-premise on their own systems. So it depends how, what your policy is regarding that. We haven't seen pricing yet, so I don't know how they compare in terms of pricing. There is also, PTC starting with those apps slowly, so more functionality will get rolled out in the coming years. So for example, if you need ERP connectivity right now, you're going to probably be waiting a couple of years for PTC to get there with these apps. So these apps here are available today to be able to do this from TriStar. Question is, will the slide deck be available? I'm pretty sure we can make it available. What was the drag and drop results in the flexible light search? I'm not sure what that refers to. Yeah, I'm not sure what that refers to, so maybe you can clarify the question, where you've seen that. Okay, on the slide. Let me go there. Yeah, so the drag and drop just refers to the way that you can configure your columns. So for example, if I want the number to be at the end, then you can configure your view that, the way that you want to see it. Now you can configure it like this. It will not save it. You can also have your administrator configure it for you. Like if you want it a certain way, you can have this configured so it will always sort based on one column or multiple columns, or be organized a certain way. Each user needs to have a login to Windchill. So even if you're using this app, it is searching Windchill. If you extend this app to search other systems, then this app could require logins for those other systems as well, like your ERP system. So yes, every user who needs to use this app to access Windchill content will need a license to access Windchill. Another question I see, there's a TriStar icon up here. Yes, definitely. So you can create your own icons and information here for your own company. This is essentially a cascading style sheet, so you can color it the way you want it. Some companies, if you're familiar with creating these kind of HTML style sheets, you can. This source code is freely available for this app, so you can have your IT department or something like this, integrate this app functionality into your existing company portals that are web-based. Okay, I'm gonna take another couple of minutes, see if there's any more questions coming in, and then we'll finish this webinar. Just a reminder, February 18th, 2 weeks from now, there will be a follow-up webinar to this. We'll take a look at some of the PLM apps concerning change management and integrating with other systems. So we'll take a look at more examples of these apps working together within Windchill. Okay, another question. So this will probably be the last one. Can we have apps for the checkout and check-in, revise, promote actions without having to go through the web browser? So right now, the Add in the Box app is read-only. if you need to have other actions. So one typical action that we could have on, for example, this light search here, there could be another column that would, for example, initiate a checkout out of Windchill. So yes, it's possible to do this. We can bring in some of those Windchill action icons, either here or in some kind of interface through the portal or through some customized app to be able to do this. But yes, that would be like a customized version of this app that would require at least a light user license, because the view and print licenses in Windchill don't allow you to do any of that, just to view information. But yes, that is possible as well. Okay, so thank you everybody for attending today. I hope this was helpful, and at least to give you information on of what these apps can do. If you have, like I mentioned, if you have any questions, contact your sales representatives at TriStar, and they'll be happy to get into more details or go through additional apps that you may be interested in. So thanks everyone, and have a great day.